Okay, we're going to attempt to do a demo on painting a bird. Can you see it? I barely drawn and lightly drawn it with a pastel. This is a Carbo Othello, and it's 1400/430. So I don't know what color it is exactly, but I love it to draw things. And I'm going to try something a little different. I usually do a background and then put something over it. I try to do the background first, but I want to work around this bird, and I'm not sure if I'll be able to, but I'm going to give it a shot. I'm going to start off with inexpensive colors. I want to start with a bright orange. And you go, that's weird. Why in the world would she start with a bright orange? Because there isn't any in the picture. I want to create an underpainting. So this is a handmade board. It's a gator board with a gesso pumice gel over it that gives it grit to hold the pastels. And I'm trying to isolate where the bird is. Just trying, I love to use semi-complements. This is a complement. Orange is complement to blue. This is kind of more of a blue-green, so it might not be exact, but this will get me a start. And brown has a lot of orange in it, so I'm going to kind of reverse the thinking on when I get to the sand. And I'm going to pick up an inexpensive turquoise. Kind of weird, but never done this before. We'll see how this goes. Not going to worry that much about where the legs are. Okay, now I'm going to get, isn't that lovely, just solid block in, no big deal. And I'm going to get alcohol. First of all, I'm going to put these two in my limited palette selection. Old brush, and what this does is it sets the pastel. So when I come back over it with something else, it should not be affected. And I'm doing horizontal most of the way, but I want to think about it as if I was painting the ocean. What direction would I do? And there's, some various changes. You don't want it all the same. That would be really boring. And that's on the back of the head. So I'm going to take that off. Sorry, my hand gets in the way of the video. I'll try to, probably should have gotten a bigger brush, but that's okay. Now the intensity of the blue is deeper further out in this picture, so I didn't really show that in the underpainting, so I might go back and add some in a minute. Main thing, I want what I do right behind this bird to be all the way up to the bird. I don't want to, you don't want to draw a halo kind of thing around it and then be able to see where you tried to go around the bird rather than it being in front. And if you put too much alcohol, it does lift off. So here we go. And I don't mind those two mixing because there is a transition between where the water is and the sand begins. Again, I'm going to just ignore the legs right now. Should be able to draw those back without any problem. But I like where I have just a tiny bit. You saw that I didn't put a heavy amount of pastel, and I use a cheaper stick. It's, student grade, usually always what I use for the underpainting. You don't want to waste your really good stuff on things that are going to be totally covered up. Alright, now down here, I can be a little more dabby, playful if I want. Just, it's one of these old brushes. I cut these up a lot of times, call them my crummy brushes, because this is sand. Doesn't need to be excessively smooth. So by creating this kind of beginning, it helps me not only cover the canvas with something, but adds texture. And it'll create unity because the colors down here are going to be used up there, the colors up there are going to be used down here. Feel free to fast forward some of this. I'm not going to for lack of technology knowledge. It's been raining so much the last few days. I'll really be glad to see the blue sky tomorrow. It's one reason why I kind of wanted to paint this, because I just feel like there's blue sky above him. Okay, that was just regular rubbing alcohol. Doesn't look like much right now. I tried to protect him. I didn't want the bright colors up underneath. I mean, you see some reflecting in his feathers, so now I'm going to come back and put a little bit of this blue as a underneath his lovely coat of feathers, and I'll see if my lovely brush is enough to let that dissolve, but not get it too much out of space. Now that's pretty bright for what you see in the picture, but again, this is an underpainting, so this isn't probably gonna even show. But I want to save the white, even though this is gold. I still want to preserve that. I'm squinting and looking at the brightest bright, and the brightest bright is the back of this bird. So that's my thinking. Now, if I did something that I didn't like, say I wanted a lighter bit through here, while you have your alcohol, I can lift off some of that watery transition area if I want. This part right in here where it's a little lighter. So I think I'll go back and do that just so that you can see how this works. Again, I'm working with an old brush, so I don't care if it gets mangled a bit, and it's stiff. You can lift it off with a paper towel. It's kind of fun too. That's actually a neat way to get some texture. I'll show you that. Okay. So I think that's pretty close. I'm right in here you can see the color underneath the water. So I think I want a little more orange down in here. And you can do that even while it's wet, but I wouldn't do it too much while it's wet. I'm going to take a darker orange. It's a little redder, red orange, and I'm going to put that up here. I just want a little bit of transition into this, going to be this vibrant turquoise blue. So I'm going to hit those areas again with alcohol because I want them to set. And you see how that's already kind of giving it a feel of layering, which I like. And the water back here, it's laying flatter. As you get closer to the shore, your little ripples in the waves will get bigger. But I think this will give it a better transition instead of it all being the same. Alcohol dries really fast. So by the time when I'm working, this is a, oh, what is this? 9 by 12, I think, is what this is. I don't usually work on 9 by 12s because they're not as easy to find frames for, but that's what this one is. You can also pick up some of the pastel if you want to. I'm going to indicate where some of these waves are. If I go on one side of that bird, I must go on the other side to look like it's continued behind it. Well, I don't always take this much time on an underpainting, but it's kind of fun because there's so much you can move around. If you don't like what you did, you can lift it off. You got a little smudge from the blue that was there. Didn't mean to do that, so I just push it off. Push it up, right up onto that bird's neck. Because if anything, I'd rather the bird be a little skinny right now, because when I come back and add the other colors to his feathers, he'll usually always fatten up. And there's a little bit of light right in here before his wings get a little fatter, or before his wings, put it that way. Alright, so if you don't remember what you've set, you'll find out when you're painting if you think something was set and it's not. That's not a bad thing, it's just going to create a little bit more mixing of colors. And I like the fact that when I set the colors and then come back and paint on top, then I'm not making near as much mud. Right, I've been going for about 14 minutes. It's not bad on a painting this size. Okay. I am going to stop the video and restart it so it doesn't start right in the middle of something. Oh, I forgot the shadow. The shadow, let's see, where is his feet? It's about twice the length of his tail. And somewhere in here. So kind of knock-kneed. This one comes out a little bit, and then the shadow aims toward the corner. So I'm just aiming that shadow toward the corner, and I want it a little darker, so I'm going to use the complement of what's there. I'm not gonna worry about his legs yet. But I do want to establish that shadow before I stop that. Okay, first of all, realized shadow's too thick where his legs are because his legs are skinny. You need to pay attention. You hardly see the shadow to start with. And then it gets a little fatter, and then it gets skinnier. But it still remains pretty skinny. I'm not going to worry about this darker shadow because you can't see what's casting it. Okay, there's the underpainting for my ibis, I believe it is. I could be doing, might be showing my total ignorance, but the seabird, shorebird, that's what I call it.